All right, so we got Coach Stephanie White releasing some info and her insights and what she feels about the Indiana Fever going into 2025. Shout out to the sports media with Richard over there and the team. Let's get straight to it, to be honest. We got a couple clips, and we're going to make different videos for each one so we can break it all down, or else the whole video is going to be about an hour. Let's go.
Who knows I'm a women's basketball fan. They said the Fever had a better offseason than the Mets, which is pretty funny because the Mets got Juan Soto. Is it realistic to say that this team is a title contender in 2025?
I mean, I think on paper, certainly. You look at it and look, our goal was to bring in experience, to bring in players that can complement our big three. I didn't know that we would be able to build the depth that we were able to build in year one. I thought that was going to take a little bit more time. So we're very fortunate. And I think each player that we brought in complements what we have already in a tremendous way. And each player that we brought in is at a different point in their career. And so they understand what it takes to put a championship caliber team together. Now, it's our job as coaches. We got to build chemistry quickly. We've got to find rotations, right? We've got to find out which groups can play best together. We've got to find out how to make our team and each individual player as efficient as possible throughout 4 quarters and throughout 44 games. Look, we've got 4 more games than we had a year ago in the same time frame, right? No Olympic break. And so we've got to be able to get a rotation. And I think for me, that's one of the things I'm most excited about. 2 years in Connecticut, we couldn't find a rotation. Our starters had to play heavy minutes. And I think at times in fourth quarters or throughout the end of the season, you could tell that a little bit because our efficiency dipped. We've got a lot of great offensive weapons that we've got to put in positions to be successful. We've got to get better on the defensive end of the floor. And so now with the roster that we have, we got to challenge our coaching staff right now to find out what that is, because it's going to be different than I think what we had originally planned because of the personnel. So do I think we can be title contenders? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to all come together right away in May? No, it's going to take time. There's always that element of luck to stay involved and stay healthy, right? Stay healthy and be peaking at the right time. But it's a challenge that I'm excited about, that we're excited about. I'm also incredibly excited about not just the players that we brought and the production that they can bring on the court, but the players we brought that fit our locker room. Right. Good culture players who I'm
going to stop it there. This is going to be the end for this. Well, let's
understand sacrificing for one another.
So I know what Coach Stephanie White is going to say. Look, Coach Stephanie White is going to be the right fit for this job. 100%. Right? Let's get to the question. Can the Indiana Fever be title contenders this year? 100%. You hear from Coach Stephanie White. It sounds like Coach Stephanie White and the coaching staff were going into the season with the game plan, and now they were able to get a lot of players and a lot of depth that they didn't think they were going to be able to accomplish this year. You got to think about how the Indiana Fever turned this roster around pretty much with keeping the main core and adding not just little pieces. They added some pretty good pieces. I mean, pieces to where you look at this roster and be like, wow, how did the front office get this done in 3 weeks? How? But it happened. And so now Coach Stephanie White is probably like, oh my gosh. There's no way we signed this person. There's no way. So now the coaches are looking at this team like, oh boy. But now it goes from, okay, this is the game plan, to no, we have so many different layouts, so many different options, so many different looks. That's why Coach Stephanie White is saying we're going to have to get a set. We're going to have to get that rotation set. And it's not going to happen in May. It's going to take time. But once that rotation is set, we're flying, because there's no Olympic break. There's no time off. It's 44 games and we're flying. You're on that road and it's go mode. So either you're with it or you're not. Coach Stephanie White looks like she's going to come in and be very direct. Who wants to play? Who's going to sit here? Who's going to fit where? There's not going to be favoritism. Who's going to fit where? She mentioned the big three: Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston. That's the big three. They will be starting on this Indiana Fever team. Now, it is expected Natasha Howard and Dewana Bonder to start alongside with them. That would probably be the first 5 Coach Stephanie White goes out and plays with. You five, let's see how you guys can fit together. Let's see how does DeWanna fit with Caitlin Clark. Okay, Natasha Howard, are you fitting with Caitlin Clark? Are you fitting with AB? Are you fitting with Kelsey Mitchell? Is Caitlin Clark able to get you in your right positions? Okay, I can see DB with Caitlin Clark. I can see you getting to your spots very well, playing off the ball. I can see how you could cover, and maybe if we have a slight defensive, a small defensive gap with Caitlin Clark at the one, DeWanna Bonner, you're big enough and athletic enough. You can slide down. You could get in gaps. You can get back to your man. You know what I'm saying? So shoot the gap, get out, and that's what I'm trying to say. DeWanna Bonner, I'm just going off on instances like you could fit with this and maybe okay. So now you got to understand how Stephanie White, she has so much work to do with her coaching staff. This is like finals. You get what I'm saying? Like college finals. Stephanie White has a lot of work to do. This is not an easy lineup just to go, dude, you got hungry players. Lexi Hall is going to be hungry. Sophie Cunningham is going to be hungry. And Sydney Colson, she's going to be Sydney Colson. Like it or not, Sydney Colson's going to be Sydney Colson, and you're not going to change her. Sydney Colson's a champion. She knows what it's like to compete, and she's going to push Caitlin Clark to be better. Every single day. And then now we bring in Brianna, right? So she knows her role. She'll be coming off the bench. Yeah, there's no question about that. So another thing I want to touch on is when it comes to Indiana Fever, bringing in the right pieces. I know a lot of you guys are going to be on Brianna Turner, and then after Coach Stephanie White just said they made sure they brought in the right pieces. I don't know when this podcast was recorded. It dropped today. It could have been recorded yesterday or 2 days ago or 3 days ago, whatever the case is. 4 days ago, I don't know. But I don't agree with what's going on with the Twitter and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, she's an Indiana Fever for now, unless she goes in a trade package somewhere. She's an Indiana Fever right now. Right? As fans, I'm not telling you to let it go. But as a fan of Caitlin Clark, as a fan of the Indiana Fever, as a fan of the game, I'm telling you, we have to come together and we have to welcome her in. Just how we did DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson. How we welcome back Kelsey Mitchell. Welcome her in to the Indiana Fever family and organization and make her feel welcome. If she wants to lash out, let her lash out. But make her feel welcomed. I'm not telling you guys to forget what's happening. You guys might not like this. But don't put more pressure on Caitlin Clark and the rest of the girls to have a locker room situation or feeling uncomfortable. Don't make it worse for the players. Respectfully. And I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from. Let's touch back on the podcast. And, title contenders. I absolutely. There's just some other parts in here I don't want to skip out on.
You look at it and look, our goal was to bring in experience.
Okay, experience. So everything that the Indiana Fever were missing, defense. The Indiana Fever were lacking on defense last year, right? Coach Stephanie White, Cox, Kelly, they went in there. Really, Coach Stephanie White, she's looking at this. Stephanie White's not just a head coach. She's a student of the game. She watches other teams. You don't think she was paying attention to the Indiana Fever, what the Indiana Fever were doing last year? Come on now. So she knew, hey, we have to bring in defense. We have to bring in longer guards. We have to bring in stronger defensive guards at the post. Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson. This is great. And then now they added Brianna Turner. So they covered the defensive part. The knowledge, the experience, the playoff games, the championship mentalities, the champions in the world in the W or championship experience to the locker room, all of that has been covered. They pretty much covered every weak point that the Indiana Fever needed in 3 weeks, including the bench. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. I think it's a good fit for the Indiana Fever. Let me know what you guys think. I think that's pretty much all that
a
we have to
tremendous
cover
way.
on.
And each player that we brought in is at a different point in their career. And job as
Okay.
coaches, we got to build chemistry quickly, make our team
Yes.
and each individual player as efficient as possible throughout 4 quarters and throughout 44. No
Yes.
Olympic break. About 2 years in Connecticut, we couldn't find a rotation in 4
Rotation. I think I covered everything on this clip. Like I said, this is going to be one of those things we're going to break down. So it might be a 10, 15-minute clip. That's why we're going to do separate videos. Stay tuned. If you have not, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I will have a couple more clips from this same podcast out shortly. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Shout out to Coach Stephanie White. I think this is going to be an amazing year for the Indiana Fever. And yeah, I'm out, man.